It's officially spooky season, but work shouldn't feel like a nightmare. If yours feels haunted by burnout and disengagement, try WorkHuman. WorkHuman's #1 rated employee recognition platform connects work cultures through gratitude. Employees thank each other for great work and redeem those thanks for millions of items and experiences, keeping them engaged and productive. But here's the coolest part. These recognition messages contain rich data. WorkHuman's AI mines it to identify quiet leaders, match mentors, and reveal team skills, enabling smarter talent decision that generates guaranteed ROI. It's good for people and good for business. All treats, no tricks. Visit workhuman.com to learn more. WorkHuman, a proud sponsor of the HR Happy Hour Network. Thank you for joining us. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the HR Happy Hour Network. This is a play-by-play podcast hosted by myself, Jack McFarlane, and Nick Schlemmer.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Well, we're back, and fun fact, it's episode 35. We don't always announce the episode number, but that's crazy. Just a quick note to think about 35 episodes, Nick. That's gone by. I still remember our very first episode sitting in the dorm room, cramped by a little tiny end table, trying to share a mic. So
it was
just...
Yeah, I mean, 35 episodes. I feel like it should be only 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Like,
you know
each time the month just flies by and it's time to do it again.
You know what it makes me feel? I feel like I get some nostalgia when I think back on the first episode.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so today we've got a great episode for you guys. We're going to be talking all about marketing and how companies are using nostalgia to specifically target Gen Z. All right, Nick. So this episode, for all listening, Nick, you too, this is born out of the Taco Bell drive-thru. All right, so I'm sitting there in line, and Taco Bell has the decades menu right now. They've had it for a while. They started 60s, 70s, 80s. Well, it's all the way up to Y2K. And I found myself thinking, wow, like some of this stuff is, when we were little kids, oh, can we get some Taco Bell or, whatever from grandma, grandpa? And this is the stuff that you would get. And it really got me thinking, wow, I want to get it just for that nostalgic feeling, even though I'm not a huge fan of like the Doritos taco, but I had to get one just because of the feeling. So that really got me thinking.
100%.
And I got into this deep dive about nostalgia, and it turns out that about 79% of Gen Z enjoys watching old shows and movies from previous decades. And that's according to a GWI Connecting the Dots report done this year. Like I said, it started a deep dive for me because originally I was just curious. And it kind of snowballed into this podcast on how companies are doing that. Have you noticed just anything that companies are doing nostalgia-wise to you, just out and about everyday life?
I mean, out and about, not too much. I would say I see the nostalgia aspect, not necessarily even for sales, but I just see it come up on social media. A lot of times it's like a sound or a song that comes up. Like one thing I think about off the top of my head is the old 2K NBA 2K playlist.
Oh yeah. Like let me guess. Okay, is it 16 with or 15 with LeBron on it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
What's the song?
15, I think.
It's in the Modelo commercials.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking? That song. I know exactly. See, that's the power of nostalgia.
And it's like, nowadays if you incorporate that into maybe a new product, it's gonna turn heads. Like it caught my attention right away. I was like, oh wait, I know that song. Like let me look at what it is.
Every time I hear those Modelo commercials, because they use that same song every time.
Yeah, it translates, directly into sales.
Yeah, and that's a great point. A little statistic on a sale is Polaroid, right? So Polaroid cameras very popular back in the day. Nowadays, even phones from 10 years ago are 1,000 times better than a Polaroid. You can store hundreds of thousands of photos. They take the best quality photos. You can edit them on. Overall, there's no doubt that a phone is better than a Polaroid when it comes to photos.
Yes.
Yet they've seen a 30% year-over-year growth rate driven by people under 25 years old. Why is that? The cameras aren't objectively better, even statistically better. It's all nostalgia and the feeling like, simpler days, simpler times. So
it's like, you could take a picture that you might take the picture in 2025, but it comes out on a Polaroid it looks like it was taken in 2002.
Exactly, exactly. And that's there's an interesting psychological notion behind nostalgia. Apparently, it is kind of the opposite of like sadness, loneliness, and anxiety. I
Mhm.
don't know what the exact scientific term is for that. That's why I'm saying the opposite. I know there's got to be some specific term, but yeah, in your brain, nostalgia, it's a real thing. That's why everybody feels it. It's supposed to combat that. It brings you calmness, like I said, simpler time. You know,
100%.
so that's a big deal because Gen Z grew up with a lot of overstimulation when it comes to the digital world.
Yes.
There's been a lot of economic uncertainty, so a lot of hard times for a lot of people throughout the past 25 years. So the feeling of nostalgia can really bring a calming happiness to
Mhm.
these hard times that a lot of people under
Yeah.
25 are feeling.
100%. And, one thing that I just thought of when you mentioned, it brings you kind of just a peacefulness when you think of nostalgia is, and I see this again a lot on social media and sometimes in real life too. I think it's the doves, the sound of the doves chirping outside. Have you
Yes.
seen that?
Yes, yeah.
Where it's like, nowadays I don't hear that.
Yeah,
But
like
back then, it's a summer day, you wake up, you got nothing to do, and you hear the birds chirping. It's like, bring me back. It's like,
right?
it's
That's exact that my mind went to that. Summer day, window open in the morning. That's what you're waking up to.
hmm
You never hear that anymore, or maybe you do, but your brain doesn't recognize it.
yeah.
There's a feeling connected with the sound, and that's a huge part of marketing. I saw a clip about Hershey's marketing back in the day. Hershey's was trying to market more towards the feeling that you get when you buy the Hershey's. Like you go with your grandpa and he says, pick out any candy you want. You pick out the Hershey's.
hmm
That feeling of the love from your grandpa is now in the chocolate bar. And so that's
Yep.
basically how nostalgia is working. And now we're really like, I feel like in the past 2 years, even, it's almost exploded, you know,
Yes. Yes.
especially in like food, like I said, Taco Bell. I know Pepsi went back to their old cans, Mountain Dew went back to their old cans for a while.
hmm
McDonald's with the Halloween pail and adult Happy Meals, it's really exploded
Everything,
as of
what
late.
goes around comes around. Everything comes back
Yes.
somehow, some way. Somebody starts it up again.
Yeah,
It's a revolving door of different times. I
exactly.
feel like it's always going to be that way. I feel like whenever Jack, me, and you are 40, 50 years old, the time we're living in right now, it's going to come back
Yep,
again, whatever it may be. Who knows
exactly.
what
It's
may
like
come back?
fashion.
But
It's
like
like fashion, right?
fashion, for
Yeah.
example, like it's going to come back. That revolving door is going to come back around. It's like,
Yeah. And so for those listening, you might be wondering or noticing, yeah, I see that all the time, but how exactly is it working? So
hmm
the most obvious tactic that companies are using, and this isn't just fast food, I've just listed off a bunch of food and drink related, but this is any company is, taking a beloved movie, a game, a show, and doing a reboot of it. Like we've seen
yes.
a lot of Disney movies recently are the old animated ones becoming live action.
hmm
Now, those ones aren't really a success story, I'd say. I think Lilo and
Not
Stitch
many.
did a really good job.
Lilo and Stitch did good. The Jungle Book was pretty
Yep.
good.
But they're
But
do
those
they're
are
at
the yeah.
least trying to bring the nostalgia. And there's also a thing called a retro drop. That's when you release a limited edition of a classic product. First thing that came to my mind, guys, I
hmm
promise I don't think about fast food this much. But the first thing that comes to my mind is those McDonald's glass cups. Now,
Mm.
obviously I was not alive when that was a thing, but my mom
hmm
was. And that used to be your toy for a Happy Meal, right? And then I forget, this was probably 10 years ago now. They had a promotion where they brought that back. And we never went to McDonald's. It was just something we didn't do often. I preferred Taco Bell, I'll be honest. But we had to go because my mom wanted to get that cup. Not for the food.
Yeah.
She wanted the cup.
She won the cup.
And she still has these nostalgic cups, these glass cups, because it reminds her when she was a kid, and that's something that just jumps out to me when it comes to
hmm
retro dropping. But what's another way that companies are using nostalgia?
I think something else that they're doing with that is collaborations with different companies, being able to bring, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but different nostalgias from, maybe two different companies and combine it into one, pairing a modern brand with a legacy brand that's,
Mhm.
solidified itself already in the market versus a new brand who could bring that in. An example of that would be a brand like Zara releasing their collection of clothing featuring Polaroid or like
Mhm.
MTV logos. I see that in H&M too. Like H&M, a lot of times they don't have the trademark logos, but it's very similar
Yeah, it's like
to
a connect the
to
dots, like
those old school brands. And you see it in just the graphic tee.
mhm.
The graphic tees in 2000 look a lot like what they're recreating right now with whether it's like NBA logos or
Mhm.
MTV or a Polaroid
Yeah.
logo on a shirt. Like it's all coming back in different companies are able to collaborate and ultimately create a new product that's new for us, but
Yeah,
is
it
nostalgia
resembles.
for different generations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a fantastic point, and not only are they doing, like, logos, MTV or whatever, I even was reading that companies in the '90s and early 2000s, like, on your sleeve of a T-shirt, right, the bottom of your sleeve, single stitch. Nowadays,
Mm,
it's a double stitch. Companies have switched double stitching. So when they're trying to make a nostalgia shirt, they even go back to the style that they were making them.
stitching.
So it's not only the logos on it, it's the type of material, it's the type of stitching that they're using to get you with the nostalgia. So
Interesting.
maybe it's something that you don't notice up front, but subconsciously you do. And you're like, oh, that reminds me of a shirt I had when I was
Hmm.
little. I need that shirt, right? And clothing's a great example because not only does the clothing itself nostalgic, but the style as well, like oversized t-shirts or baggy pants or skinny jeans. I don't know, they all come and go.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
clothing, that is a fantastic example, Nick. And the final thing I'm going to point out, the last major thing is called the vibe shifting. That's when companies are, yes, they're marketing the product, but it's not about the product. It is purely about the marketing. And so it's kind of like the Hershey's I talked about.
Hmm.
Hershey's, yes, they're marketing their chocolate bar, but they're really marketing the love behind it and the feelings that you get associated with it. So that's something
Okay.
else that companies do right now with Taco Bell. They have the Y2K menu. They're doing all the ads that the fashions like the 2000s, the music's like the 2000s. The product itself is almost no different than what they have every single day of the year. It's really not. It's just a taco. But you get the feeling. They're giving you the feeling of the 2000s, not necessarily the
Hmm.
product itself is, oh, this is the Nintendo Wii from 2010. No, they're just saying we're giving you the feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And Jack, I just thought of something too. And, we talk about nostalgia and going back to clothing, for example. I wonder if stores like, the Goodwills and,
Like Savers,
say,
DI,
yeah, like,
thrift
yes,
stores.
thrift stores. Thank you. I could not think of the word thrift
Yeah.
stores. If those type of stores are seeing more customers, like, are more
Yeah.
people going there trying to find some of these retro items?
Now, I don't have a specific statistic, but I would almost bet any money in the world that yes, they are getting more. Especially out here, we've got Savers, Goodwill. In Utah, we've got Desert Industries is like the thrift store, and there's a bunch of them. And I mean, they get the best business you've ever seen. People are all I know I go there with Elissa looking for like vintage style clothing. So 100% that has to be a statistic. I wouldn't be able to tell you the number, but
Yeah,
that's
it was
definitely
just a thought
true.
I had. Yeah.
Yeah. The final thing I want to touch on is kind of the risk behind it. You know, we're saying all these great things about nostalgia. Well, then why doesn't every company just do that? Right? There's obviously some risk, and that's called nostalgia bait, which is something that I never really thought of, but I found it interesting. Basically, it's when a company can maybe be trying too hard and it's coming across like inauthentic.
Hmm.
And that is very bad. According to Edelman Trust Barometer, they did a report this year in August, and it found that 68% of Gen Z consumers will stop buying from a brand if they think they are inauthentic. And nostalgia bait can bring that inauthenticity around.
Mm.
So that there is risk involved. You have to do it right.
Yeah.
That's why, not every company is doing it.
And I mean, sometimes when people try You see companies try and bring back things. Sometimes it is just a flop. You
Yeah,
know that
like
that
the Disney movies.
yeah, like the Disney movies. That the failure that happens with that sometimes it just doesn't when it doesn't live up to the memories that we have with it.
Yes,
Like
and
if
that
it
is the
if
big
it's not
risk.
hitting directly in our mind, like that's what it was like, or like that's how it felt, then
Yeah,
it's just nobody has an interest in it.
exactly. And the one example that I just thought of for that type of feeling is Christmas, right? When you are a
Yes.
kid, not that Christmas isn't magical and awesome every year, but when you are a kid and you wake up Christmas morning at 3 in the morning and there's presents
Yeah.
under the tree, like it is different. Every year I notice I'm like, man, it's a great feeling, but it's not the same feeling.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
I gotta say, it comes back when you see little kids. Like my little nephew's just over 2 years old. So last Christmas was the first time he really understood it. And it's like
Hmm.
unreal to him. But it's basically that where you think back so fondly of something that when it's right in front of you, it's such a letdown.
Yeah.
So that is a major risk. And that's a great point you pointed out there, Nick. So let's take a quick break. We've talked business the past couple of podcasts. So we're going to come back and hit you with some fantasy football to end this one off.
Alrighty, everyone, we are back. And like Jack said, we are hopping into fantasy football. I know Jack loves his fantasy football. He
Yeah.
loves football. I'm new to the game, never played football in my life, but fantasy, I'm starting to catch on to the hype around it. And Jack, first off, I want to talk about our teams, how we're doing, what it's looking like, what I've
Yes.
experienced so far doing fantasy. Tell me about your team. What's going on?
Yeah. So, like Nick said, I'm huge into fantasy football, just football in general. Anything involving football, I love. I've got 3 teams this year. That's about the sweet spot. That's a lot to manage. I think next year I'm only going to do 2. Every time someone on one team scores, that hurts you on the other team. But I decided and got a new league going with Nick is involved, and then a lot of our family. And man, it's been a blast. So we'll focus on that league for now, so I don't go crazy talking about all my teams and all
Okay.
my players. If I had to describe my season so far for that league in one word, it would be underwhelming. Okay,
Mm.
we did draft night, had so much fun. Get the draft report card. Okay, A+, projected to go 13-3 or 13-5 or something like that. Projected to do very good. Right now I'm 1-2. I have scored the least amount of points in the whole league. And last week I was the only team that went under projections from the beginning of the week. So I've had a rough patch.
Yeah.
But what are your initial thoughts on fantasy in general? And like maybe tell me who's been a standout for your team.
Yeah. And so, I'm learning now, we're 3-4 weeks in
Mhm.
of like, I don't always watch the football games, but I'm kind of have to look into some of these players because I may choose a player that may not be a great option for me at all. And I may not know that. So, I'm liking the fantasy vibe and what it's bringing. My season so far has been, yeah, it's on the up and coming. Let's say that. We started off 0-3, got the first win
There
last
we go.
week.
Against our number one, I will say.
Let's go back to the grading average. I think I got a D+ and it's been looking that way so
Yes.
far, 0-3.
But
And
you're doing better than me. We're the same record, but you have more points. So
yeah, last week was good. A standout player for me so far, George Pickens. He's kind of like
he had a monster
he had a
game.
good game because some of the players went down and whatnot, but George Pickens has been, I don't have the best roster in my fantasy league. He's kind of been like consistently,
He's been good.
last week was amazing though. He had
Yeah.
upper 20s for points, so that was
Yeah, he
that was
was
pretty
so good.
cool.
And one of my best players, my team's been very underwhelming. My best player was supposed to be Jamar Chase. Obviously his quarterback is injured and now gets 2
Hmm.
points a game. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on it. So my best player has actually been Dak Prescott. Our league, we do 2 quarterbacks, and no one even drafted Dak. Picked him up off waivers because I've got Jane Daniels, who's been injured, thinking, okay, he can scrape me by. He can get me 16 to 20 points, right? He's been unreal. He's been playing at an almost MVP level. He's been the quarterback for George Pickens. And I think the other game, he got like 30 points for me. He
Yep.
got a third of my points. And he was undrafted in our league. It's an 8-man league, so not a lot of draft selections. And he's been fantastic for me. Overall, though, I don't have any of the best players. Right now we're seeing, I think Puka Nacua is up
He
there.
did very
Christian
well.
McCaffrey is number 1. Josh Allen, I believe, is number 2. I don't have any of those guys. Okay,
I don't
it's
have any of them either. But talking about up and coming, what is one guy who you think kind of flew? I know you just mentioned Dak, but who would be another guy who kind of flew under the radar? Now he's kind of performing, 3 weeks in. For me, that would be Scattaboo. I
Cam
love
Scattervoo.
Cam Scat. I
Love
love the way
Scattervoo.
he'll run through a brick wall every time.
Yep. I picked him up in a different league, and he's been incredible because
I just picked him up, I think, last week. Yeah.
in that specific league, I have Chase Brown as my running back, who's for the Bengals. He's been worse than Jamar Chase. What a tire fire that has been happening in Cincinnati. Cam Scatteroo has been my fireman, though. He has
Yep.
saved me, been so good. I think another player for me, I'm going to stick with quarterback, and it's a shocking pick. I cannot believe I'm going to say this name, but Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones. What in the world? Where did he come from? He was so bad in New York. Yes, he won a playoff game.
Yeah.
But not only was he bad at football, he was bad at fantasy, right? Quarterbacks can be very hit or miss because usually your best players are running backs and receivers. So when a quarterback is putting up these numbers, it's impressive. And for Danny Dimes to be doing it, unreal. I picked him up on my other team. He's been so good. Been so good. I'm actually doing good in that league thanks to Scattaboo and Daniel Jones. That just doesn't, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone right now. They've been great. Who do you think has been the best? Maybe they're not on your team. Is it Puka Nacua? Is it Christian McCaffrey? Who, if you could trade for anybody right now, who are you getting?
If I could trade for anybody right now, I wish I knew more players who do very well in fantasy. I would probably go with Puka Nacua. I think he's kind of their main target most times during the games. If not, if I was to take like a quarterback, me mistakenly, I think I was in like the 6th or 7th round and realized I didn't have a QB. So I ended up taking Bo Nix, who's been pretty good.
Okay.
He's been
You're
average,
a
I
believer.
think. Yeah, Bo Lever. But if I had to take a quarterback, I would love to take, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, Philly's quarterback.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. I would love
lot of rushing
Jalen
touchdowns
Hurts.
for him.
Yeah.
No, that's a good fantasy pick. Sometimes that's what people don't realize. Just because you're the best, like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are the best quarterbacks in the NFL. That does not mean that they're the best for your fantasy team. Now, Josh Allen is doing good, and Patrick Mahomes is as well, but Jalen Hurts is a great option because of the rushing touchdowns he gets with the tush push. That's a big thing in fantasy when quarterbacks get a rushing touchdown. I think for me, it would have to be Christian McCaffrey. Depending on your scoring type, he's either 1, 2, or 3 in total scoring. That, injury concerns with Christian McCaffrey every year. So I stayed away. Didn't want to draft him just because what if he gets injured again? What a mistake. He's been unreal. The Niners are getting injured left and right. They have lost their tight end. Both their quarterbacks are hurt. Both their receivers are hurt, plus one of them sitting out. So the only person that gets the ball in San Francisco is Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
And he's getting like 40 touches a game. So if like we did a redraft or I could trade for anybody, that is who I would go for. He's been unreal. Sadly, my dad has him on his team, so he gets to reap the benefits of that. And then I get to play against Puka Nacua this week. Lucky me. Lucky me, I get to play against, because he's been great too, as much as I don't want to say that. Obviously, Puka Nacua went to BYU, So I absolutely hate him and hope he has no success ever. So I would never trade for him ever. But
Yeah,
I got to admit, he's putting up a lot of fantasy points
a lot of
in
fantasy
LA.
points.
Another thing I want to touch on here, especially after this week, is injuries.
Hmm.
There's been some major injuries to really good fantasy players. And we got to shout out a Jake Fortnite, our good buddy. He's in first place in our league. At the beginning of this week, I sent him a trade. I traded him Malik Neighbors and Trevor Etienne for Jameer Gibbs and Garrett Wilson. Man, oh man, am I glad I did that because Malik Neighbors went off and tore his ACL and is done for the year. So that, fantasy, there's a lot of luck involved. Are your players going to stay healthy? Malik Neighbors, not healthy. Another one, Tyreek Hill. Did you
Tyreek
watch
Hill.
that game at all?
I didn't watch
Monday
the
night?
game, but I saw
Did you see the
his
replay?
his play. I thought he for sure broke his leg, but I
It's
guess it was a sprain,
Well, I think it was. I think it's dislocated knee.
dislocation,
So
because it was not
dislocated
pointing the right way.
knee. Yeah, it was. I was watching the game and I saw that play, and I was like, you know what? That made me sick. I am done watching football, and I didn't watch football the rest of the night. It was that bad of an injury.
Hmm.
You hate to see it. You never want to see someone get hurt like that, especially a star player. But that's a huge fantasy loss for a lot. It was dislocated knee, torn ACL, torn MCL, and I think another ligament got torn as well. I mean,
Yeah, just a
horrific,
bunch.
horrific
Yeah.
stuff. There's one guy in my other league had Malik Neighbors and Tyreek Hill on his team, and his season is over now. You
You see,
can't. What are you supposed to do? Your two best players are gone.
pick up
So
some
yeah,
waiver running backs and wide receivers.
and injuries horrible, but what can you do? You can't control that. What do you think for players that are not injured and still horrible? Those are busts. Have you
Or
had
bust. I
any
mean,
busts on your team so far?
I thought so. I took one of our close to hometown guys, Sam Laporta.
Okay, yeah.
I took him as my starting tight end, and I don't know if he has hit his projections yet.
I don't
I
think he
think
has.
I think every week he's been less, but I refuse to get rid of him for some reason. But he's been a bust for me. Like last year, it seemed
Yes.
like every time I would happen to tune into a Detroit game, he was
He
in the
was
end zone.
unreal.
This year, not so far. Not
Yeah.
yet. Like
I got to say, I am happy you drafted him because I was going to pick him right after you did. I had him last year. He was unreal. I won
yeah.
my league in a large part to him, and I had Saquon, who was, Saquon was unreal.
Yeah.
2,000 rushing yards, a million touchdowns. But yeah, so I am glad. I'm sorry for you, especially in your first year. You never want to get a bust like that, but there's still time to turn it around. For me, it's like I mentioned, it's the dynamic duo of Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. Just like Laporta, they have not hit their projections once this year. In fact, they haven't even been within 5 points of their projections once this year. That's how bad it's been for both of them. Jamar Chase, I give a break to because now he's got a nobody throwing him the football. The
Yeah.
Bengals might be better on offense if they punt the ball every time and hope for a hit stick fumble touchdown. But for Chase Brown, the running back, not last week, 2 weeks ago, 10 rushing attempts for 3 yards. I ate a Subway sandwich that was longer than his average yards per carry that week. What is that? That is the definition of a bust, and I cannot wait to get him off my team. I'm going to try and trade him to anybody. I don't even know if I'm going to request anything. I'm just saying, here, you take
Here,
the
take 'em.
disappointment, you take the sadness, and then inevitably he'll get 1,000 points and I'll look like a dummy.
Yep, that's how it goes.
Yeah, so what is your hope for the rest of the year? What would you be proud with? It's your first year. Are you looking to just make the playoffs? Our league's got we've got rivalry challenges. Or are you looking to go all the way? What is your thought?
For me, one, putting in not maximal effort, doing the research and everything, I think making the playoffs would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, having luck take its way from there, and we'll see how far we go. But I think the playoffs would be huge. I think me pulling out just an overall winning record would be a plus for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But
a
for
great
you, it's
goal.
probably the bar set a lot higher.
Well, I would have yes, I was thinking championship or bust
Yeah.
after the draft. I'm thinking this team is fantastic. I'm so excited. I put in a lot of time and research. Now I'm to the point where, man, I hope I make the playoffs. You know, I want to win the championship, obviously. Like I feel like it's a waste if I don't put in all that time just to be awful. But I've had to tamper my expectations. I'm like you. If I can somehow pull out a winning record and make the playoffs, I'll
Yeah.
be over the moon, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just fantasy.
That's
What can we say?
fantasy.
That's
And,
fantasy football.
I'm sure down the road in a future podcast, we may bring this up again and we'll, knock
Definitely.
on wood, our seasons turn around
Yes.
and we'll be able to talk about it in a more positive aspect. But
Yes, I agree. We will. We definitely will. Hopefully, by that point, it's Nick and I are facing off in the championship game. We never lost after the podcast, and all our players have been unbelievable. I guess only
that's
time will
right.
tell.
Yeah. That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to take another quick break and just come back with everyone's favorite, and that's the quote of the show.
Alrighty, guys, wrapping up today's episode. It's been a fun one, but here we got it again with the quote of the show. Talking about nostalgia, talking about the past, threw in some fantasy football, bringing up what we're doing right now versus what we want to expect out of the future. It's been interesting, and this quote today, I wish I knew who said it because whenever I found it, it says unknown. So
Okay. Well, then Nick
praise
Schlemmer
to
said it.
maybe I said this at one point in
Yes.
time. But the
Praise to
quote
unknown.
goes, yeah, the first time today, right now, here we go. The quote goes, hold on to the past, but let the future make its own way.
That's fantastic.
Short and sweet. I think you could put a lot into it.
Yes, that's perfect. And that goes perfect with the whole nostalgia theme that we've had this episode.
Hmm.
And yeah, even with the fantasy football, talking about what we hope the season ends like that. That's perfect. I think we can check off the unknown, add in Nicholas Schlemmer
There
said
we
it.
go.
You heard it here first on the play by play. Thank you guys so much for listening. We've got a lot of exciting episodes coming up. I won't spoil anything for them, but
Yes, we do.
it is going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening.
Looking forward to it, Jack. Thank you for listening, everybody, and bye for now.